Story time with Brian. Yeah, yeah. Story time with Brian. Yeah, yeah. Story time with Brian. Yeah, yeah. Story time with Brian. Yeah. On today's episode of Story Time with Brian, I'm going to share with you, actually, you know what? I'm going to share with you this beautiful story from, I don't know, 2008, maybe? I don't know. It's been a while, but guess what, boys and girls? Children of all ages, even the old ones in the back, even you in the back, Grandma, come on, get close. Gather around, children of all ages, because we're always children. We're never not children. It's only a mental idea that we get older. We're always young at heart. Don't ever lose the young at heart, everyone. All right, gather around, get close. Pull your laptop and your cell phone a little closer. Brian, this guy, I'm going to be sharing a story with you. A wonderful epic of a road trip, a little sliver of a road trip that I was on from New York City all the way to San Francisco. And at this particular juncture, me and my girlfriend at the time, we were driving through the wonderful state of Colorado. Beautiful state of Colorado. Probably the first time I had been through Colorado, actually. And we had just gone through the crazy Rocky Mountains, or coming into the western slope, as the locals call it, coming into Grand Junction, looking for a place to bed up for the night. And we were thinking it could be cool. Let's find some nature place. And so this is before the day where we had cell phones or any sort of technology to tell us what to do or what to go. So we happened to, by the grace of God, found an REI and pulled in there. And I'm like, well, I'll run in. I'll ask him. I mean, like, what better place than here than ask if there's a great local place to go camping or to explore. So I go in there and I ask, and they go, hang on, we'll go get Jim for you. I'm like, all right, waiting for Jim. Well, here comes Jim. You can't quite see it. Jim's dragging a club foot, and he's kind of a bit of a lazy eye. He comes up to me and goes, so I heard you're looking for a place to stay tonight. I'm like, yeah, sure, Jim. What's going on? What do you got for me? He's like, well, this is a place called Colorado National Monument. You may not have heard of it, but it's great. I can't do the lazy eye. I don't have that much talent. And he commences to tell me, he's like, well, there's the one way, because, but I'll show you the back way. I'll show you the back way, the quicker way of getting there. I'm like, okay. So I'm just like listening and trying to use my male brain to like memorize these directions, right? Because male brains have, anyway. I get in the car and I start conveying this story to my girlfriend. And she's like, Jim, lazy eye, clubfoot, the back way, Brian, are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? By the way, side note, kids, her and I had seen a lot of scary movies that talked about bad people in the hills, okay? And so running through her mind are all of these like stories of bad things that could possibly happen to us by us taking the back way by Jim. Anyway, so we're like, well, what do we have to lose, right? So we take off and we're driving, following the directions that Jim just gave us. And all of a sudden we start ascending, going up this really tight switchback, ascending up, 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 up. And as we're getting further up, higher up, it's getting darker and darker and darker. And of course, both her and I think she was a little more freaked out about the fear narrative than I was. But either way, we came to an agreement that said, guess what? Okay, if we get to this place and there's no one there, we're just gonna go back down and go find a hotel for the night, okay? Because like, I don't want to know what Uncle Jim's got in store here, right? So we eventually get to the top and we do see like a ranger station, and there's like official things going on. Mind you, we had never been here before, right? This is my first time in Colorado. So for those of you who've been to Colorado National Monument, you kind of maybe know where this story is going. We get to the top, it's all dark, we're driving around, and we just find a spot. Then we realized the only camping gear we have is a brand new unboxed tent that her parents gave us in New York State that we've never opened, don't know how to operate, don't know how to assemble. So we're that couple, by the way, everyone, that like gets there at like dark 30, uses their car and their headlights to set up set up the tent, right? So we're trying to set up this tent that we've never even opened before by car light, and we eventually get it. Problem was we actually broke a few little rods, and there was like this vestibule thing that was supposed to be great for shoes and whatever. Anyway, we broke it, and so we couldn't assemble it properly. And we're on top of a mesa, by the way. A mesa is a table mountain that's kind of high up in altitude, right? And so hard rocky surface, and this thing is flapping in the breeze, because if for any of those have been on a mesa, it's windy, right? Because it's high up and it's flat. So we get there, setting it up, and of course, at this point we realize, well, we have pillows, but we don't have sleeping bags or a mat to sleep on. We're like, wow, we are so ill prepared in this. So it just keeps getting worse. Anyway, so we eventually, pack up the car, turn off the lights, and we're sleeping, laying on this hard earth, hard solid rock mesa. And both of us are freaking out, thinking that Uncle Jim's friends are in the bushes ready to come, like, in the middle of the night. So we're freaking out, can't sleep. Finally we pass out. Meanwhile, there's all this wind happening too, right? So the tent is flapping in the wind. Anyway, so eventually we pass out, and then I wake up at some point in the middle of the night to silence. Dead silence. And that was even more scary than the wind, right? Because at least it was distracting. So anyway, so I'm like freaking out, and I like poke my head out, and it's like the moon, the whole full moon is like in the sky, and it was amazing. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to bed. So laying on this hard mesa, my girlfriend's probably having just as much of a hard time as I am in sleeping. Anyway, fall back asleep. Then I awake to the first bits of sunlight, and I wake up my girlfriend, and she's like, oh, and she's like, sharing stories of how some dramatic things that she couldn't get comfortable, and ladies bits and things. And it was just, I won't share it here. But we get out of the tent, and all of a sudden it was like God standing before us, right? So for those, again, who have been to Colorado National Monument, you know what I'm talking about. Beautiful orangey, red, brown rock being illuminated by the morning golden sun. So I'm standing looking like I feel like I just walked into heaven. And I'm like enjoying this beautiful, beautiful view before me. And also noting that our tent was maybe at best 40 feet from the cliff of a very far fall, let's put that way. So I am so glad that I didn't have to get up in the middle of the night to go for a long walk to take a pee, is all I'm saying, kids. I am so glad that I didn't do that. All I'm saying is that this epic journey of, stories from Jim with the lazy eye and the club foot from REI being like, hey, go the back route. And we're like, okay. So two kind of morals here, kids. One is road trips are great, especially when you don't know what's about to happen, because it's the journey, not the destination, that is the best part of this whole thing, right? Two, talking to strangers is not always a great idea, but sometimes it can get you some interesting experiences, okay? So yes, strangers are bad, stranger danger, kids. And at the same time, in this particular event, it felt safe, and it was, and I trusted. So sometimes in order to have amazing adventures, you sort of have to trust. And in this particular case, we trusted. And as a result, we had an amazing experience out of it, and a story that I'm sharing years and years later. All right. Well, thank you all for listening, boys and girls and children of all ages, including Grandma in the back there. Thank you for listening. It's been a beautiful re-sharing the story with you. And this series is continuing. I'm loving to continue this series. So please like and subscribe. These buttons are going to pop up here to subscribe and to watch other videos in this series. Please click that and share this with people. And remember, Life is a journey. It's fun, it's exciting, and just remember that. No matter how mundane it may be as you drink your morning cup of tea, there's always a story to be shared. All right, boys and girls, I love all of you. Be well, and remember, laughter is really the best medicine. So don't forget to laugh. Woo.